Our communities are drowning in disinformation in regards to our plight and condition, and it's all by deliberate design. Our oppressors have deliberately spread lots of false information into our communities in regards to our plight and condition, because they know that as long as they keep our understandings flawed, then all of our liberating remedies that stems from those misunderstandings will also be flawed. More specifically, they know that as long as they keep us believing that our plight is connected to a religious book written by our most ungodliest enemies, that we will continue to remain complacently passive, waiting for a false Messiah to come and rescue us. They know that as long as they keep us believing that we're being controlled by a silly slave syndrome myth, that we will never unify ourselves around the true fact that we're being actually controlled through the oppressor's monopoly over information that are fed into our minds. They've got our people so mentally enslaved that telling the truth and stating facts now literally offends millions. Many of our people are afraid to look at facts, so they never have to admit to themselves that they might be wrong. Many of our people, therefore, strongly defends their indoctrinated false beliefs, regardless of how ridiculously absurd they may be. And those of us who do wake up does so because we've grown tired of believing in things that literally insults our own intelligence. The oppressed must function based on what is true in order to develop the proper kind of strategies that are necessary in order to liberate ourselves. This is why those of us who know the truth must teach African proverb. The truth of our plight and condition is that the group of people that possesses the least credibility to control what we believe are in fact controlling what we believe. They've exploited this scenario to create an elaborate prison for our minds. Those of us who know the truth are trying to free you from a mental prison that you don't even know you're trapped within. There are 4 ways to effectively brainwash an entire generation of people. To understand how, you have to learn the 4 ways to effectively manipulate the human brain. It is done by what we're taught, by what we see, by what we hear, and through repetition. Repetition makes lies appear more truthful. Because our oppressors control the education we're taught, the media images that we see, the narratives that we hear, and through repetition, they therefore brainwash millions of us to think and behave in ways that are against our own interests and that instead serves their interests. This includes keeping us thinking negatively of ourselves and favorably of our oppressors. It's the true reason why many of us now perceive ourselves as being our worst enemies and reveres our oppressors, in spite of such a brutally horrific history of the contrary, proving that our oppressors are in fact our worst enemies. Through our oppressors' monopoly over the input of contents that are fed into our collective minds, they've shifted our collective aggressions away from themselves and have redirected it against ourselves. This is all possible because regardless of how intelligent people are, it is possible to control the input of information and media images that people receive. It's entirely possible to control what they'll believe, how they will think, and even how they'll behave. This is because people's ways of thinking and behaviors aligns with the information and media images that they receive and have accepted as being true and accurate. All information that we've learned from the white society are falsehoods designed to make us think in ways benefiting themselves. The history we've been taught has been whitewashed to make our oppressors appear more significant throughout history than they truly in fact were, while making we Africans appear less significant throughout history than we truly in fact were. Doing so conditions us to perceive ourselves through a false inherent subordinate identity that aids the oppressors and maintain their social dominance and social capital over our lives. We are also constantly being told that all study results favors our oppressors over us. Doing so is deliberately designed to subliminally embed the myth of our oppressors' superiority over us into our subconscious mind. This not only makes us more compliant with our oppressors' dominance over our lives, it in many cases causes many of us to even prefer it. Through the oppressors' monopoly over the information that we receive, they also keep us believing the fraudulent, worst possible narratives about ourselves. Those negative narratives negatively shapes how we think about ourselves collectively. How we think creates how we feel. How we feel becomes our emotions. And emotions become vibrations by which we function. By keeping us thinking negatively about ourselves, it keeps many of us functioning at a lower vibrational level. Virtually all that we've been taught and made to believe by our oppressors are lies designed to manipulate us to think in ways that serve their system of white supremacy. If you don't believe that our oppressors secretly exploits their monopoly over the input of information and media images that we receive to manipulate us to think and behave in ways that benefits themselves, you are extremely naive. For what I'm disclosing is totally consistent with the oppressor's historical behaviors. Look at their history. Throughout history, the oppressors have demonstrated an entrenched predisposition for brutal racism that is matched only by their proclivity for deceit, greed, and hunger for power. They alone are the most narcissistic and the group most predisposed to racism. All other races have been their enemies or their victims. Moreover, throughout history, the oppressors have demonstrated an almost total disregard for the human lives of other racial groups. Their subjugation, murder, and exploitation of all other groups are unparalleled. While labeling all other groups as being savages, the oppressors have in fact been the most brutally savage throughout history. These are the people who are presently controlling all of the information that we receive and blindly believes. Whenever such a described group of people are controlling all the information that we receive, they'll always feed us lies that serve their many unethical agendas against us. They do so because it's the people they are. It's the way they've always been. And it's the only way they know how to be. Now you know the truth. Telling the truth is dangerous, given that evil people are running the world. But a true revolutionary is not afraid of dying. A true revolutionary is only afraid of dying while remaining mentally enslaved by our oppressors. Therefore, having lived his or her entire lives while his or her mind was never their own. You've heard the truth. When you hear the truth and you know within your soul that it is the truth, you have an inherent obligation to spread it. Teach it to our people. Please do so. We are in the age of the awakening. The time of believing in falsehood is over. One love and peace.